Imagine standing at your father's funeral, your heart already bleeding from his loss, tears soaking the ground where you last said goodbye. Then, your brother steps forward, his voice a blade, slicing through the mourner's whispers. You're nothing to him, he hisses, eyes glinting with venom. You're not his blood. You get nothing, not a cent, not a memory, not even his name. The words rip my soul apart, each syllable a dagger twisting deeper, stealing my home, my heritage, my very identity. The betrayal burns, raw and unforgiving, but I'm still standing. I'm Olivia Bennett, 32 years old, and this heartbreak is just the start of a truth that will shake you. Hit subscribe, comment where you're watching from, and join me to unravel this story. Let me take you back to a small, weathered house on the edge of Portland, Oregon, where the rain never seemed to stop. My mom, Sarah Bennett, was a single mother, working double shifts at a diner off Interstate 5, her hands always smelling of coffee and grease. We lived paycheck to paycheck, our fridge often bare, but her tired smile kept me going. I was 5 when James Carter, a mechanic with a laugh as warm as a summer day, walked into that diner. He didn't just steal Mom's heart, he chose me, too. Hey, kiddo, he'd say, kneeling to my level, wanna learn how to fix a carburetor? Soon, our evenings were spent in his garage, 3 miles from home, my tiny hands gripping a wrench as he taught me to tune engines under flickering fluorescent lights. James and Mom married in a simple ceremony at a park by the Willamette River, me in a thrift store dress, tossing wildflowers. He called me his little spark plug, and we'd drive his beat-up Ford pickup to campgrounds, roasting marshmallows under the stars. He'd tell stories of his Navy days, his voice steady, making the world feel safe. When I was 7, Ethan Carter was born, a squalling bundle who changed everything. I loved him, but fear not at me, would James love me less now that he had a real son? One night, I confessed this, tears soaking my pillow. James sat on my bed, his calloused hand on mine. You're my first kid, he said, voice firm. Nothing changes that. Ever. But Ethan grew up different. By his teens, he craved status, designer sneakers, a shiny Mustang for his 16th birthday. He'd roll his eyes when James invited him to the garage, calling it greasy work. I stayed close, helping James balance the books for Carter's Auto Repair, a business he'd built from a single bay to a thriving shop employing 20 folks. Ethan wanted the rewards but none of the sweat. As I look back, I see the cracks forming, cracks that would shatter our family in ways I never imagined. If you're feeling this, drop a like and let's keep going. 3 years ago, the world I knew began to crumble. My mom, Sarah Bennett, started clutching her chest during her diner shifts, her face pale under the fluorescent lights. Doctors found a heart defect, and within 6 months, she was gone, her warm smile replaced by a hospital bed's sterile silence. The loss gutted me, but it broke James Carter worst of all. He'd sit in his garage, staring at engine parts, his hands idle for the first time in decades. I couldn't bear to see him unravel, so I quit my graphic design job in downtown Portland, trading client meetings for late nights at his side. We'd cook his favorite pot roast, the kitchen filled with the smell of rosemary, and watch John Wayne westerns, his soft chuckles a fleeting echo of the man he'd been. I'd hold his hand, feeling the calluses that built Carter's Auto Repair, praying he'd find his way back. Ethan, my brother, was nowhere to be found. At college 2 hours away in Eugene, he claimed midterms kept him busy, but his calls were curt, his visits non-existent. I'll come when I can, he'd mutter, voice flat. James would shake his head, hurt flickering in his eyes, but he'd say, he's young. He'll come around. I believed it, too, until the day that changed everything. On a rainy Sunday morning in April, I drove the 3 miles to James's garage, expecting to find him tinkering with a Chevy. Instead, I saw him slumped on the concrete floor, a wrench by his side, his face gray. My scream echoed as I dropped to my knees, shaking him. James! Wake up! The paramedics arrived in 10 minutes, their sirens piercing the drizzle, but his heart attack was massive. At 58, the only father I'd ever known was gone. Grief swallowed me, but there was no time to mourn. I threw myself into planning his funeral, every step a knife in my chest. At a funeral home off Sandy Boulevard, I chose a simple oak casket, knowing James hated anything flashy. I wrote his obituary, highlighting his Navy service and how he'd fix neighbors' cars for free. I picked his favorite red flannel shirt for burial, folding it with trembling hands. Friends and employees packed the small church on 82nd Avenue, their stories of James's kindness filling the air. Ethan showed up late, slipping into a pew with his girlfriend, Claire, his eyes glued to his phone. During the eulogy, I spoke through tears about James's love for his family, my voice breaking. Ethan didn't look up, checking his watch instead. I should have seen the warning signs, but grief blinded me. After the burial, we gathered at James's house, a modest 2-story home 5 miles from the garage. I'd spent the day before setting out casseroles and photo boards, each picture, James teaching me to ride a bike, laughing by the river, ripping my heart further. As guests shared memories, Ethan cornered me in James's study, the room still smelling of his pipe tobacco. His face was hard, no trace of the boy I'd once rocked to sleep. "We need to talk about the will," he said, voice clipped. I frowned, confused. "It's too soon, Ethan." He stepped closer, his tone ice-cold. "James changed it last month. The garage, the house, the $3 million in savings, it's all mine. You're not his real daughter, so you get nothing." His words hit like a sledgehammer, my breath catching. "What are you saying?" I whispered. He smirked, eyes glinting with triumph. "You're not a Carter. You never were. Pack your stuff and go." Claire hovered by the door, avoiding my gaze, as the room spun. The man who'd been my brother had just erased me from our family, leaving me with nothing but betrayal's bitter sting. If this hits you hard, smash that like button and let's see where this goes. Weeks after James Carter's funeral, I was a ghost drifting through a life I no longer recognized. Ethan's betrayal, his cold declaration that I wasn't a Carter, that I deserved nothing, left me hollow, my days spent in a cramped apartment 7 miles from the home I'd lost. I avoided his calls, his texts demanding I clear out the last of my things. But one gray afternoon, I returned to James's garage, Carter's auto repair, to retrieve a box of old sketches I'd left behind. The familiar smell of motor oil and metal grounded me, each tool on the wall a memory of James's steady hands guiding mine. As I rummaged through a cluttered workbench, my fingers brushed a rusted tin box tucked beneath a pile of shop rags. My heart skipped. James had always hidden spare keys in tins like this. Curiosity pulled me in, and I pried it open with a screwdriver. Inside wasn't a key, but a leather-bound journal, its pages worn, and a single brass key taped to the first page. James's neat handwriting stared back at me, each word a lifeline to the father I'd lost. I sank to the concrete floor, tears blurring my vision as I read. "Ethan's been pushing me," he wrote, dated 2 months before his death. "He says the garage should go to his blood, not Olivia. He threatened to cut me off, to leave me alone if I don't rewrite the will. I'm grieving Sarah, and he knows it." My breath caught. Ethan had preyed on James's pain, twisting his love for his son into a weapon. Another entry, a week later, chilled me. "I fear I've made a mistake. Ethan's not the man I raised. I need to protect Olivia, my daughter, in every way that matters." The key had an address scratched beside it, Portland First Credit Union, 2 miles from the garage. The next morning, I drove there, my hands trembling as I clutched the journal. At the bank, a clerk named Linda led me to a safe deposit box room, her kind eyes softening when I explained it belonged to James. "He mentioned you'd come," she said, unlocking the box. Inside was a sealed envelope with my name in James's script, a stack of legal documents, and a USB drive. I tore open the letter, my heart pounding. "My dearest Olivia," it began, "you've been my daughter since the day I met you, blood or not. Ethan's demands broke my heart, but I saw his true colors. Months before I changed the will, I transferred 70% of Carter's auto repair and $1.5 million to a trust in your name. You're the heart of this family, and I trust you to carry it forward. Forgive me for the pain, I had to test Ethan's soul. Tears streamed down my face, each word a balm to the wounds Ethan had carved. The documents confirmed it, a trust, signed 6 months before James's death, making me the majority owner of the garage, untouchable by the will. But the USB drive held the real bombshell. Back at my apartment, I plugged it into my laptop, hands shaking. A grainy video flickered on, a hidden camera in James's study. Ethan stood over him, voice sharp. "She's not a Carter, Dad. The garage, the money, it's mine by blood. Change the will, or I'm done with you." James's face was weary but firm. "Family's more than blood, Ethan. Olivia's my daughter, always." Ethan slammed his fist on the desk. "Then you'll die alone." The screen went black, and I sobbed, not from pain, but from the truth. James hadn't betrayed me. He'd protected me, outsmarting Ethan's greed with a plan I'd never seen coming. If this twist shocks you, hit that like button and let's keep unraveling this story. The revelation of James Carter's secret plan, his trust securing 70% of Carter's auto repair and $1.5 million for me, lit a fire in my soul, but the embers of Ethan's betrayal still smoldered. I thought I'd seen the depths of his greed, but a week after finding the safe deposit box, I uncovered a scheme that made my blood run cold. It started when I visited the garage to meet with Lisa, the office manager, hoping to understand the business I now owned. As we sorted through invoices in the cramped back office, I noticed a dusty laptop on a shelf, one Ethan used when he'd grudgingly helped James during summer breaks. Curiosity tugged at me, maybe it held client records. I powered it on, the screen flickering to life, and found Ethan's email account still logged in. What I saw stopped my heart. A chain of messages, dated just days after James's funeral, showed Ethan negotiating with Pacific Auto Group, a rival chain 10 miles away in Beaverton. He'd offered to sell Carter's auto repair for a measly $500,000, a fraction of its $2 million value, just to pocket quick cash. "The business is mine," he wrote to their CEO, Greg Harlan. "I'll push the deal through, no matter what." My hands shook as I scrolled further, finding worse. Ethan had emailed several of James's longtime clients, spreading lies that the garage was failing under new, unqualified management, a clear jab at me. One client, a local dealership, had already canceled a $50,000 contract, citing concerns about reliability. The final blow came in an email to Pacific Auto, sent 2 days ago. "Olivia's claiming ownership with some fake trust," Ethan wrote. "I'll tank the garage's reputation if she doesn't back off. Bad reviews, disgruntled employees, whatever it takes." Rage surged through me, but fear followed. If Ethan succeeded, he'd destroy everything James built, leaving 20 employees, people with families, mortgages, dreams, jobless. I printed the emails, my resolve hardening, but doubt crept in when I faced the team the next day. Mike, a grizzled mechanic who'd worked with James for 15 years, pulled me aside in the garage, his voice low. "Folks are talking, Olivia. Ethan's been calling around, saying you forged those papers. Some of the guys, they're worried. Is this trust legit?" His words stung, like a betrayal of their own. Mike's weathered face, usually warm, was etched with suspicion. I swallowed hard, clutching the printed emails. "Mike, you knew James. He trusted me with this place. Ethan's lying to save himself." Mike crossed his arms, unconvinced. "Then why is he telling clients we're done for? I got 2 kids in school. I need to know this shop's safe." My chest tightened, Ethan's poison was spreading, turning loyal friends into skeptics. I handed Mike the emails, watching his eyes widen as he read. "He's selling us out," he muttered, shaking his head. James would have been ashamed. That night, alone in my apartment, I paced the worn carpet, the weight of Ethan's scheme crushing me. He wasn't just stealing my inheritance, he was dismantling James's legacy, piece by piece. I thought of the employees, Lisa, who'd worked through her chemo treatments, Mike, who'd taught his daughter to change oil in this very garage. If Ethan won, their livelihoods would vanish. But the emails were my weapon, proof of his treachery. I called my lawyer, Rachel Nguyen, at 10 p.m., my voice steady despite the storm inside. Rachel, Ethan's trying to destroy the garage. We need to move fast. She was calm, resolute. Send me everything. We'll stop him, Olivia, but it's going to get ugly. Ugly or not, I was ready to fight, for James, for the team, for the truth. If this betrayal makes your blood boil, smash that like button and let's see how this battle unfolds. The morning sun barely pierced the Portland drizzle as I stood outside Carter's auto repair, my heart pounding like a piston. Ethan's emails, his vile plan to sell the garage for pennies and ruin its name, burned in my mind, but I held James Carter's trust documents and the damning USB drive like armor. Rachel Nguyen, my lawyer, stood beside me, her sharp eyes scanning the garage's faded sign. Ready? She asked, adjusting her briefcase. I nodded, though my stomach churned. Today, I'd face Ethan and the team, not just to claim my 70% ownership, but to save the legacy James built with his own hands. The 2-mile drive from my apartment felt like a battlefield march, every second stealing my resolve. We pushed through the garage's glass doors, the familiar hum of air compressors and clanging tools greeting us. Employees glanced up, their faces a mix of curiosity and unease after weeks of Ethan's lies. Lisa, the office manager, gave me a small nod from behind the counter, but Mike, the veteran mechanic, watched warily, his arms crossed. Ethan was in James's old office, now cluttered with his sleek furniture, oblivious to our arrival. I took a deep breath, the scent of oil grounding me, and strode in, Rachel at my heels. Ethan looked up from his phone, his smirk fading. What the hell are you doing here? He snapped, standing. I held up the trust documents, my voice steady despite the storm inside. I'm here to take back Carter's auto repair, Ethan. James gave me 70% ownership in a trust, signed 6 months before you manipulated him into changing the will. His eyes narrowed, but I pressed on. You thought you'd won, but you're done lying, done scheming, done betraying our father. Ethan laughed, cold and sharp. You're delusional. This garage is mine. You've got nothing but fake papers. Rachel stepped forward, unfazed, and set her laptop on the desk. Then explain this, she said, hitting play on the USB video. James's study flickered onto the screen, Ethan's voice booming. She's not a Carter, Dad. Change the will, or I'm done with you. Gasps rippled through the employees now crowding the doorway. Rachel swapped to the emails, projecting Ethan's words to Pacific Auto Group. I'll tank the garage's reputation if she doesn't back off. Ethan's face drained of color, his hands clenching. This is a setup, he shouted, lunging for the laptop. Mike grabbed his arm, his voice low. Sit down, Ethan. We've heard enough. I turned to the team, my heart racing but my words clear. James built this place on honesty and hard work. Ethan's been lying to you, trying to sell it out from under us. I'm here to keep his vision alive, fair wages, good benefits, a family that sticks together. Ethan struggled against Mike's grip, spitting venom. You'll ruin this place, Olivia. You're not even his real daughter. The room went silent, but I stood tall, James's letter echoing in my mind. You're my daughter, always. Family isn't blood, Ethan, I said, my voice breaking but firm. It's love, and James loved this garage, these people, and me. You're the one who forgot that. Rachel nodded to 2 security guards who'd arrived from the front. Mr. Carter, you're no longer welcome here, she said, handing Ethan a formal notice. The guards escorted him out, his protests echoing down the hall. This isn't over. As the door slammed, I faced the team, 20 faces, some tearful, some stunned. Mike stepped forward, his skepticism gone. James always said you had his heart, he said, voice gruff. We're with you. Lisa wiped her eyes, and the room erupted in applause, a wave of hope washing over me. Carter's auto repair was mine, not just on paper, but in spirit. James's legacy would live on, and I'd fight to make him proud. If this moment gives you chills, smash that like button and let's keep this story rolling. The air in Carter's auto repair felt lighter the day after Ethan's exit, but the weight of James Carter's legacy rested squarely on my shoulders. I wasn't a mechanic, just a graphic designer who'd learned to swap spark plugs at her dad's knee. Yet, standing in the garage, surrounded by the hum of tools and the scent of motor oil, I felt James's presence urging me forward. I had to save this place, not just for me, but for the 20 employees whose families depended on it. The morning after the confrontation, I called a team meeting in the shop's break room, a small space lined with lockers and a coffee pot James used to swear by. Mike, the grizzled mechanic, leaned against a wall, his eyes softer now. Lisa, the office manager, sat at the table, her notebook open, ready to rebuild what Ethan had nearly destroyed. I took a deep breath, my voice steady but raw. James built this garage on trust and hard work. Ethan tried to tear that down, but we're still standing. I'm bringing back the full health benefits he cut, effective next week, and no one's selling this place. Not to Pacific Auto Group, not to anyone. Murmurs of relief rippled through the room. Lisa wiped her eyes, whispering, James would be proud. But the road ahead wasn't easy. Ethan's lies had cost us a major client, and rumors still lingered. I spent late nights with Lisa, poring over financials in the office, 3 miles from James's old house. She taught me how to negotiate contracts, her patience a lifeline as I stumbled through terms like overhead and margins. Mike took me to active repair bays, showing me the rhythm of the shop, how to spot a faulty transmission, how to keep clients happy. One afternoon, as we worked on a rusted Ford sedan, he chuckled, wiping grease from his hands. James always said you had a knack for this place, even when you were doodling logos instead of tightening bolts. I laughed, the first real laugh in weeks, but my heart ached for James's absence. By the end of the first month, we'd won back the dealership contract Ethan lost, a $50,000 deal that had mechanics cheering. Customers started returning, drawn by word of mouth that Carter's was back to its old self, honest, reliable, family. The real turning point came when I decided to honor James beyond the garage. I launched the James Carter Scholarship, a fund to send local kids to trade school, covering tuition for aspiring mechanics. At the unveiling, held in the garage's parking lot under a rare Portland sun, I stood before employees, clients, and neighbors. A framed photo of James, grinning in his red flannel, hung on the wall behind me. This is for the kids James believed in, I said, my voice cracking. The ones who'll carry his love for this craft forward. Mike stepped up, his voice gruff. You're doing right by him, Olivia. This shop's alive again because of you. The crowd clapped, some wiping tears, and I felt James's spirit in every cheer. But it wasn't just about the garage. Late one night, as I locked up, I found a photo tucked in a drawer, a shot of James, Mom, Ethan, and me at a 4th of July barbecue, laughing by a grill. It reminded me why I fought, not for money, but for the family James built. The scholarship, the restored benefits, the loyal team, they were his heart, beating strong. Carter's Auto Repair wasn't just a business, it was a promise I'd keep, no matter what came next. If this fight for legacy moves you, hit that like button and let's see how this story unfolds. 3 months after I took back Carter's Auto Repair, the garage hummed with life again, but a quiet ache lingered in my chest for the family I'd lost, not just James Carter, but the brother I'd once known. Ethan's betrayal had carved a wound that success couldn't fully heal. I'd moved into a modest 1-bedroom apartment 8 miles from the garage, trying to build a new life, but memories of our childhood, Ethan giggling as James tossed him in the air, haunted me. One overcast morning in August, as I arrived at the garage to review a new contract, I froze. Ethan stood in the parking lot, his usual tailored jacket replaced by a worn hoodie, his face gaunt, eyes fixed on the ground. He looked like a stranger, not the smug brother who'd tried to destroy everything. I stepped closer, my heart a tangle of anger and pity. What do you want, Ethan? I asked, voice sharp but unsteady. He shuffled, hands in his pockets. I lost the house, he mumbled. Foreclosed. Took out loans I couldn't pay after the garage deal fell through. His voice cracked, a flicker of the boy I'd once loved. I've got nothing left, Olivia. I was wrong, about everything. His words hit hard, stirring memories of James's lessons about family. I wanted to turn him away, let him drown in his own mess, but James's voice echoed, family stays. Why should I trust you? I said, crossing my arms. You lied, schemed, tried to ruin this place. Ethan met my eyes, his gaze raw. I know I screwed up. I thought money was all that mattered, but losing the house, losing you, it's not what Dad wanted. My throat tightened at Dad, a word he hadn't used since the funeral. I remembered James's letter, his hope that Ethan could change. There's a job, I said finally, voice low. Junior mechanic, under Mike. No special treatment. You earn every step, or you're out. Ethan nodded, a spark of gratitude in his eyes. I'll take it. I'll prove I'm not that guy anymore. The next weeks were tense. Ethan showed up at 6 a.m., hands calloused from wrench work, learning from Mike without complaint. The team watched him warily. Lisa whispered doubts, recalling Ethan's harsh words, but he kept his head down, scrubbing oil stains and hauling parts. One evening, as we closed up, he helped me fix a stubborn alternator, our hands moving in sync like when we were kids helping James. Dad taught us this together, he said softly, tightening a bolt. I paused, the weight of our shared past settling in. He'd want us to fix more than cars, I replied, meeting his gaze. A faint smile broke through, the first crack in the wall between us. Ethan's change wasn't instant, but each small moment, his quiet thanks when I handed him a tool, his nod to Lisa after a long day, rebuilt a fragile bridge. I didn't forgive him fully, not yet, but I saw James's heart in his effort, a chance to mend what was broken. Carter's Auto Repair became more than a business, it was a place where family could start again, one careful step at a time. If this moment of redemption resonates, hit that like button and let's see where this journey ends. 6 months after I took the helm of Carter's Auto Repair, I sat alone in my new home, a cozy one-bedroom 10 miles from Portland's bustling downtown, the rain tapping softly against the windows. The garage was thriving again, but my heart still carried the weight of James Carter's absence and the fragile bridge Ethan and I were rebuilding. One quiet evening, as I unpacked the last of my belongings from James's house, I found a worn leather wallet tucked inside a box of old photos. Inside was a folded note, James's familiar handwriting catching the lamplight. My breath hitched as I read, Olivia, family isn't blood, it's the ones who choose you, through every storm. You and Ethan are my heart. Love, Dad. Tears welled, not from pain, but from the truth that James had always seen us clearly, even when we lost our way. That note was his final gift, a reminder that family is forged in love, not biology. Ethan's betrayal had nearly destroyed me, his cruel words at the funeral, his schemes to sell the garage, but James's wisdom held us together. His trust, hidden in a safe deposit box 2 miles from the garage, gave me the strength to fight. His words in that video, family's more than blood, fueled my resolve to save Carter's Auto Repair, not just for me, but for Mike, Lisa, and the team who'd become my extended family. Even Ethan, broken by his own greed, found a path back through hard work and humility. I thought of the scholarship ceremony, where we'd honored James under a rare Portland sun, and the quiet moments with Ethan, fixing cars side by side, rebuilding trust one bolt at a time. This journey taught me a lesson I'll carry forever: life will test you with betrayal, even from those closest to you. But you can choose to rise, to protect what matters, and to offer a second chance, not because they deserve it, but because love demands it. In your own life, hold tight to the people who choose you, your friends, your mentors, your chosen family. Don't let money or pride blind you to what's real. As I hung a photo of James, Sarah, Ethan, and me from that 4th of July barbecue in my living room, I whispered, "You were right, Dad." His legacy wasn't the garage or the money, it was the love that held us through the storm. If this story moves you, hit that subscribe button, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and comment below, what does family mean to you? Let's cherish those bonds today, because they're worth more than any inheritance.